Greg Gutfeld. Today is a very special day for the Fox News channel. It's our 20th anniversary, and we're going to commemorate that major milestone later in this hour. But first, a Fox News alert. Winds have weakened a little bit down to a Category 2 hurricane, but Hurricane Matthew is still an extremely dangerous Category 2 storm whipping up Florida's east coast. The death toll there has now risen to 4. Georgia and South Carolina are bracing for impact. The eye of Matthew remains offshore, but there is extreme concern about the winds and the storm surge pushing up against the vulnerable coastline. St. Augustine has been among the hardest hit. This amateur video shows people trapped at a hotel in the heart of that city.
Have you called for help? Have you called for help? How many kids are in there? 20? You guys own the restaurant?
Hurricane Matthew has killed hundreds in the Caribbean. Reuters is now reporting the death toll in Haiti has risen to more than 800. We've got reporters fanned out along Florida's east coast. We're also going to get an update from Rick Reichmuth at the Fox Weather Center, but we're going to begin with Leland Vittert live in Daytona Beach. Leland, tell us about the storm.
Eric, 24 hours ago, a lot has changed, and that's when the police chief here said it wasn't a matter of if, but when someone would die in this storm in his city, and sadly that has happened. A woman who went out to feed her animals around noon, right in the height of the storm, died when the tree fell on her, and that is just how dangerous, how random these storms can be. During hurricanes, we talk a lot about the damage, the wind damage in specific, and you look behind me, one of the boardwalks here in Daytona Beach, the tourist shops, not really significant damage. Significant if you own one of these stores, not significant though overall. You get a sense here as you look down at the ocean, number one, the power that this storm produced, but number two, also just how high up the storm came. You see one of the concrete trash cans that was lifted up and moved off one of the sidewalks, and then right here is sort of the water line where the water reached. Given how it was on the other side of this hill, it would stand to reason that had this storm surge even been 1 or 2 feet higher, it would have had a much bigger effect there farther inland. That didn't happen. Many folks saying we didn't necessarily dodge a bullet entirely, but certainly, at least in here in Volusia County, not nearly as bad as expected. Flooding's still a problem, but not the sort of overwhelming effect that everyone prepared for, guys. All right,
Dana has a question.
Well, Leland, I was curious because some of the local officials and state officials have been saying the worst could still be yet to come. Are they not talking about Florida any longer? They're talking about further up north in Georgia and South Carolina?
Well, Dana, state officials are saying this for a couple of reasons. We're going to walk down and I'll talk about why that is. They keep saying here that they really want people, number one, not to take anything for granted, because you're getting what we're happening right now, these sort of counterclockwise, winds that are now coming back around. So it's still fairly dangerous to be out on the streets, especially if you don't have the proper gear, if you're not really set up to be in one of these situations. Also, number two, worst is yet to come because of the storm surge. Still possible to get more storm surge. We saw that really after the worst winds down in Daytona Beach. We saw storm surge coming in floodings. The other issue is what happens in North Florida. The contour of the coast is very different as you go farther north and up the Atlantic. It's much lower in terms of how the coast is dealt with, and also the way the islands are shaped. A lot of the water from the storm surge can come back around, and that's really what they're worried about now. North Florida into Georgia, the lowlands of South Carolina, and those places. Dana.
Greg has one.
Hey, Leland, I'm just wondering, when I'm looking at you, you're out there all alone. I'm just wondering if the only people there right now are reporters.
Guys, you may be asking me a question. It appears as though I've lost your connection. We're going to do our best to establish it out here. As you might imagine, during the hurricane and during the sort of the aftermath of the hurricane, cell phones that we use to communicate back with you guys and be able to hear what you're asking us tend to be somewhat unreliable. And shockingly enough, iPhones don't really love the rain that's been coming down in drenched pockets. So with that, we'll send it back to you guys and wait to talk to you a little bit later in this show and show you some of the more damage here in Daytona Beach.
Very good, Leland. Thank you very much. We'll check back with you a little bit later in the show. Let's go now to our chief meteorologist, Rick Reichmuth, tracking the storm in the Fox Weather Center. Rick, where is it headed?
It's headed to the north now. Winds have come down a little bit. That brought it to a Category 2, the high-end Category 2 at 110. But that pressure of 948, in meteorological terms, that's still really, really low pressure. So it's still a very, very strong storm, but it has hugged the coastline. We talked over the last number of days. Exactly where it goes on that coastline is going to have really big impacts. The worst of the wind, the worst of it, was just offshore, and you saw these couple of little jogs here. This is all about 25 miles offshore. Had that been a little bit closer, it certainly would have been worse, at least as far as the storm surge and the wind. But we've obviously seen a lot of damage, and we have a long ways to go. Storm's still pulling a lot of that energy and the storm surge into this kind of concave area here along the coastline that Leland was just talking about. You also notice kind of that coastline, that little jagged shape. It's a lot of marshy areas, a lot of kind of swamp and rivers and inlets, and that's why we're going to continue to see that storm surge pile in here and continue to flood. The center of the storm right now is about the center, about 45 miles from the coast, but the wall, that where we still have the very strong winds, is only about 15 to 20 miles off the shore there. Let's see, not sure why that map just popped up. Let me show you this. Hurricane warnings in effect here now, including areas of North Carolina. And the latest track looks like it's going to go a little farther off towards the east before it makes this southerly jog. And because of that, as it goes north, Charleston, South Carolina, potentially, you notice the center of that really flirting there with the coastline. So we go into tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, Sunday afternoon, and we still have a lot of impacts, a lot of time with a hurricane right there flirting with the coast. So a lot of areas are going to deal with this before it moves back to the south. Don't worry about this when it comes back to the south. It'll be kind of a shadow of its former self. This right here is a storm surge, still probably 8 to 12. Savannah up towards Charleston, beautiful area, and we're going to be watching a big storm surge that is likely going to cause a lot of flooding. One last thing, guys, I want to show you, the rainfall amounts are going to be extreme. We've seen a lot of rain in Florida, but we will see it become more of a rain event as it starts to interact with a front that's off towards the west as it gets into the Carolinas. And look at this, we're going to see some spots 15 inches, even now going up into eastern Virginia. Juan yesterday asked me about Virginia, but I think eastern Virginia, Norfolk, we're going to be talking about some pretty significant rain, and that means quite a bit of flooding.
All right, Rick, hang on. KG has a question.
Hey, Rick. So in terms of the expectation level, what people were projecting, for this hurricane, where do you think it's basically played itself out in that sense?
Was the forecast accurate? If that's what you yeah, I think it's been pretty spot on. We've said all along that little 20 miles one way or another we couldn't say. But the overall behavior of it is run just right parallel to the coast, and it continues to do so. So I think what we've seen with the damage in Florida, what I think we have yet to see by tomorrow morning of what happens here in Georgia and South Carolina is going to continue to be very extreme and a really dangerous night ahead again across the areas of Georgia and into South Carolina. And we have a lot of flooding going on right now in Jacksonville as well. One last thing I got to tell you, we had record-breaking flooding across areas of eastern North Carolina a couple of weeks ago. That means the ground is incredibly saturated, and if we get those spots that maybe get in that 10 to 12 inches of rain up there by the time we get to Sunday, we're going to have a massive flooding event going on across parts of North Carolina as well. All
right, Rick, and I think if you think back, you look at Hurricane Katrina, took a direct hit towards New Orleans. Also, Hurricane Sandy came directly westward into the coast, and that caused a lot of the damage. We're going to leave it right there. Thank you very much, Rick. We're going to go now to Brian Yanis in Sebastian, Florida. Now, Brian, what's the latest there? It looks like it's not too shabby there right now.
Well, let's talk about what Rick was talking about, which is that any 20 miles to the west, and this storm could have been a lot worse for Central and South Florida. It's right behind me. You have beautiful homes, right? We're on A1A. Well, if we have my cameraman come behind him, you'll see that those homes would have been damaged had that Category 4 hurricane made that 20 miles to the west. But right across the street, you see the damage here. This is the piers, right? You've got the jet skis and screws from the piers and the broken piers out here, the kayaks and boats that have been lifted from the forest. This is the Indian River. Behind those homes that I had shown you, that was the Atlantic Ocean. Because that storm did not hit here in South and Central Florida the way that they believed, and how it's really hitting in Daytona and Jacksonville with that kind of severity, well, that's why people here in South and Central Florida are right now breathing a sigh of relief. We have about 1 million people without power, and there are plenty of people without power here, especially in Central Florida right now. But besides that, again, we've had 4 deaths to this storm, and those deaths have come sadly. 2 people that had a generator in the garage, another woman who had a heart attack and emergency services couldn't get to her, and another woman who had a fallen tree that hit her, unfortunately. But all in all, for Central and South Florida, unlike what's happening in Jacksonville and St. Augustine, people expected a really serious storm, and right now the damage is minimal to fallen trees and a little bit of puddles and that kind of a thing, thankfully. Eric.
All right, thanks, Brian. The low-lying city of Jacksonville, Florida is bracing for tremendous amounts of flooding as Matthew takes its way north. Garrett Tenney is there now, and he joins us live. Garrett.
Yeah, Eric, we're talking earlier about the worst is yet to come. Jacksonville is where they were talking about. Right now, you can see we are just starting to feel the full brunt of Hurricane Matthew here, and it's going to stay this way for at least the next 3 hours. The biggest concern, because Jacksonville is such a low-lying area, is the storm surge. This is the St. Johns River. Right now, if this raises up another 1.5 feet, that is going to be clear covering this entire boardwalk here along the shore. Already in Jacksonville Beach, about 15 miles from here, the first 2.5, 3 blocks of that town are entirely flooded. So the worst is yet to come here in Jacksonville, where we will be keeping a close eye on the developments over the next 3 hours. Eric?
All right, Garrett, thank you very much. We're going to be monitoring Hurricane Matthew throughout the hour, but we turn to the presidential race next. There's only 2 days left before the next presidential debate. Our predictions and our advice for both candidates ahead.
Welcome back. This Sunday is the next presidential debate. Hillary Clinton's off the trail today, but Donald Trump took part in a roundtable this afternoon and a town hall last night. Here's what he said there.
Donald Trump is going to New Hampshire to practice for Sunday. This has nothing to do with Sunday. And it's like they make you into like a child. And this has, I love the people of New Hampshire. This was set up a little while ago. They were going to cancel it. And I said, why are you going to cancel it? Well, you want a debate prep. I said, forget debate prep. I mean, give me a break. Do you really think that Hillary Clinton is debate prepping for 3 or 4 days? Hillary Clinton is resting, okay? She's resting.
We've got a live show this Sunday, a few hours before the second showdown, so please make sure to tune in and watch The Five at 5 p.m. More now on what we can expect at this weekend's face-off. And right off the bat, as we were going on the air, the Washington Post posted a story that's about a tape of Donald Trump talking with Billy Bush as they were doing a show. And apparently Donald Trump is in his private van or whatever, and they're talking about women in the most derogatory of ways, using language that we can't repeat here for you. So let me ask Eric, what do you think of this? How is this going to affect?
We have a live show Sunday? That'd be great.
You don't want to talk about this.
That sounded like an invitation to a funeral. It was like, and
so look, I listened to the tape, and look, Donald obviously heard it. He came out, he apologized immediately, said it was locker room banter, and made an apology if he was offended. And I guess that's all you can really do, and that's all you can really hope for.
But I said in terms of the debate, so do you think the women's issue is back?
Well, I think Hillary will try and, remember what she did with Mrs. what was it? Machado. Yeah, Miss Machado. She wasn't even asked that question, but she somehow worked it in. So I'm guessing they're figuring out right now how they can take a question that may have something to do similar, grab it and somehow regurgitate it. It's going to be tough, though. I mean, yeah, it's not fun listening to that.
Kimberly.
Is long and wide. The world keeps spinning, so take it out for a ride. So be brave.
Wherever you are on life's journey, Abbott's breakthrough products help you and your family lead healthier, fuller lives.
It's tried all the time.
Then Dana had to rewrite.
And the thing about this is that I can understand. I hear him. He's saying it was locker room banter, private conversation. Did not expect that it was on a hot mic. It was in 2005. But culture has moved on. And one of the things you see in this election repeatedly, and you'll see more tonight when fresh polls come out, is that Donald Trump trails with women by a huge margin. He's not doing as well with men as he needs to be. So these are points in the campaign when there's no room for error. And when it comes to the debate prep, I think he praised Governor Pence for his debate performance for good reason. And Pence basically shut himself away with Governor Scott Walker, and they practiced for that debate for days. It does pay off to debate, to practice, and I do believe that Hillary Clinton is not resting. I think that she is making her team put her through her paces over and over again to see how she can at least try to not to flail at this debate, and to try to seem whatever it is that people want from her likability. The last thing I would say on this statement from him today, if you go to the Washington Post page and you listen to it, is that it goes back to this issue. It's not just with women, it's the issue of temperament and judgment. And over again, the numbers are flipped in terms of temperament and judgment. If that's what you care about when you're voting for a president, it's a difficult thing for him. So this is never welcome. But I do think that unlike other times in the campaign where they've had to deal with that adversity, Donald Trump's quick reaction to this was better than in the past.
So, Greg, you and I are so expert at dealing with women. I thought I would ask you. Donald Trump said last time after the first debate that he held back. He didn't bring up Bill Clinton's problems with women because he thought it might embarrass Chelsea and Hillary.
I think he's
does he think he's going to bring it up now?
I think he will now. I think because this is going to be full-bore misogyny accusations against Donald Trump. Hillary will bring this up, and his only defense is going to be using Bill Clinton. He said, well, look at your husband. That's the only place he can go with this, because he's kind of up against the wall when you're on tape. The thing about the town hall thing, you know, it only had Trump supporters. He continues to retreat into comfort zones instead of going out there and putting himself out there for practice. I mean, there were more softballs in that town hall than the bushes at your local park. Meanwhile,
I'd be interested to know that Reince Priebus, the chairman of the Republican National Committee, has been in Donald Trump's sessions, and apparently he's throwing questions at Donald Trump. Chris Christie is playing the antagonist. I don't know how Chris Christie plays Hillary Clinton. And then they're also trying to talk to Trump, Kellyanne Conway, about body language and how he deals with the fact that the questions are coming from the audience as well as from the two moderators.
My prediction is it's going to be a war over who's more folksy. Hillary's going to try to out-folksy Trump because he likes to amble around, so she's going to amble around like a friendly farmer from up the road.
I think she should cut any canned line from her performance. The canned lines from Kaine were not good in that earlier debate.
Disastrous. Yeah, not good. I mean, look, obviously she's preparing because she prepared last time and it worked well for her, but now it's going to also be about personality. And so in terms of her relatability and people liking her, she's not been able to do well with that. People say, you know, if you know her personally, they find her likable, but it's not translating, it's not resonating through the screen and in these groups. Perhaps this will give her an opportunity to try and showcase it if it is there, to find it somewhere deep down. Trump, he seems very comfortable, I think, in this kind of format, just from seeing all the town halls that he's done. Maybe this is going to be a little bit more of an advantage for him to try and showcase.
Problem is that this is not the same kind of town hall. That was not a dry run. That was a no run. You know, there was no conflict.
Yeah, those were all Trump supporters, and the questions were pre-screened, so they could anticipate. All right. Don't forget to watch us Sunday at 5 p.m. A quick break now, and then we've got a new bombshell on the Clinton email scandal to tell you about, how the White House tried to help Hillary Clinton contain the scandal. Next.
Storm. Officials in Georgia and South Carolina are warning its coastal residents to flee now before Matthew makes his way there. We'll have an update for you shortly. There'll be live reporters on the ground that we'll talk to. But we turn now to politics again. There's news on the Clinton email controversy. Do not adjust your set. This is actually news. The hits keep coming. Emails obtained by the RNC through a FOIA request indicate that the White House was working with the State Department and the Clinton campaign to manage and minimize the fallout over the secretary's private server back in early 2015. An administration official issued this statement to Fox News today. The administration has always been transparent about the fact that we were in touch with the Clinton campaign about stories related to her time at the State Department, which I have to say, given the story, I buy that. When I look at some of these emails, I see the communications teams at the White House and the State Department coordinating as they do. And the reason that the emails are public is because the RNC, Eric, asked for these emails based on a Freedom of Information request. They got them. In one way, you could look at it and say it looks like they're colluding to try to protect Hillary, even though she had this server, which was one of the things President Obama said is that there was no wrongdoing, but they were early on recognizing that this was going to be a bad story for them.
And my issue with it is that they discuss how they're going to spin it with the media. So the White House is coordinating with the campaign and saying, hey, what are we doing with CBS? Are they okay? Yeah, we're doing good with them. Or what about the other group? Or is Steve Harvey sending the coordination? And then if it's not illegal, it certainly should be unethical.
But it's not illegal, and there was no campaign. We're talking about the State Department and the White House, and so you have now. What's interesting, and I think
they knew she was going to announce for president.
Is that you have Jennifer Palmieri, who is at the White House at the time, and then she goes over later to work for Hillary Clinton's campaign. And you have Jen Psaki, who's at the State Department at the time. She later goes to the White House, and they're communicating about whether or not they can avoid having the current Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton's successor, John Kerry, ask questions during a CBS interview. And it's not clear, but it looks like they finally come to a decision that, oh yeah, CBS is not going to ask about this, which suggests that, gee, did CBS say we'll avoid this? Well, CBS today puts out a statement saying, no, we never bought into saying anything was off the table. The second part of it is, and maybe the more troubling to me, is you see the State Department assuring a lawyer who worked for Mrs. Mrs. Clinton that the State Department's not telling Congress that Mrs. Clinton did anything wrong. And I don't know how they could know that at that juncture, but clearly they're in touch with the lawyers early on.
But not only that, they
email server and had multiple devices, another lie, and in fact did send classified information, another lie on her part, and then it shows collusion. It's totally, to me, it's not very ethical. You can say, okay, it was something not legally punishable or a violation of a specific law, but honestly, this is what undermines people's faith and trust about the credibility and the honesty of government as it stands today. And this is the message and the call to arms for change that you are seeing people turn out in record numbers because they don't like this, exactly what we're witnessing.
I do wonder, though, if it's Republicans or Democrats. I mean, the White House and the State Department or the campaigns, there is coordination. I don't know if you're going to outlaw it.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back
or be able to convince people that it was wrong.
But the fact that it's just kind of acceptable, right? That the media helps a buddy out. I mean, it's like the media is the Beavis to the Democrat butthead.
Yeah.
Or if you're a fan of Saved by the Bell, the media is Zach and the Democrats are Screech. Or if you like the Gilmore Girls, the media is Lane and the Democratic Party is Rory.
Well, don't stop there.
The media is Ren, the Democrats are Stimpy.
Stimpy, oh, I like that.
You like that? Okay.
That was a good one.
I'll stop there.
You know, I mean,
so
you do interviews with politicos. Some of them may be running or they may not be. And their communications people will call you and say, hey, can you ask about this? You go, well, you know what? If it works in, you say, maybe I can work it in if it's interesting.
Or they ask you sometimes to not ask questions.
Or not ask about that. And you go, no, I'm sorry, you can't do that. If you're good, you just say, no, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to ask. I can't promise you that. But my problem here, it just seems like there was much more coordination going on. Yes, we have them. CBS is on board. A wink and a nod, maybe not written in an email, but a wink and a nod saying that it's clearly there is some sort of coordination between the journalist and the campaign.
It's so funny because most journalists are uncoordinated.
Gambling in this place? Is that what you're saying, Eric? There's gambling here? Oh,
no, I mean, I'm talking about in.
But I'm just saying, Dana's point. Look, first of all, you'd be upset if the White House wasn't talking to the State Department, and secondly, guess what? It happens with Republicans and Democrats. It's just politics.
Oh, wow.
You know, the communications people are always in the story, but they're actually not at fault here. All right, stay right there because we've got a big birthday to celebrate ahead. It's our own, the Fox News Channel. Excuse me, I got a little choked up. They turned 20 today. Please join us as we take a nostalgic trip down memory lane. Next.
And on this day in history, October 7th, 1996, a little cable network called the Fox News Channel was born. In almost no time, it became the most powerful name in news. And here we are today, 20 years later, proud to be bringing you the fair and balanced coverage that you deserve day after day. The 5 turned 5 this July, and to celebrate today's big anniversary, we'd like to reflect back on some of our favorite moments since the show began, starting with Eric.
So I've had so many great times. Actually, the decade I've been here in the 5.5 years or so that we've been on. Lon Snowden, interviewing politicos. Hosting The Fact has been great, but 5.5 years ago about this day changed everything for me. Hello, everyone. 5 o'clock on the East Coast, and this is The 5. It's our first show. Up first, the issue everyone's talking about. President Obama vowing to get a debt deal done, warning that they'll meet every day until an agreement is made. Thank you, our viewers who've come out in droves to support us. Last week, we were the highest rated show in all of cable news. Thank you, especially the faithful viewers, because without that, there's no reason to put the show on. 4 years, 4 more, I don't know, 40 more. It's been great.
We'll be dead by then.
Well, why not? 1,300 shows, 5+ years. It's been a great ride. Wild ride, but great ride.
Oh, never a dull moment, that's for sure. All right, Dana, what do you got for us?
We'll talk about a great ride. Remember this in New Hampshire this past year?
Oh, boy.
This is going to be the best segment in all of New Hampshire because the 5 of us are going to pick the top 5 candidates. We don't know who we're going to have, and then we're going to slide down this hill. On your marks, get set, go! Oh no, Cruz is going to win! Did Trump win? Trump won. Congratulations, Donald Trump. You heard it here first.
And that was a predictive primary win. You won.
Trump
Won the primary.
There you go.
That was fun.
And I didn't even cheat.
No, and people all around.
clarify, he's married.
Yes.
Anyway,
Innocently.
that was Dana's idea. And I think that's what shocked me. Was like, Dana wants
She
to
was
go.
a killer.
Yeah, and did you see her face? I mean, gosh, I think you're a snowball.
Oh, I come up with things that I can win.
I was like, do we get on our knees or just lay down flat? And I looked up, and Dana was at the end of the mountain. I was like, what happened?
I'll let that line go by.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, it's true. You
Yeah.
have to know how the technique to do it. So,
But that was pretty fun.
Yeah, hats off to the folks at St. Anselm's, because that was just fun. That's almost like a childhood fantasy to go snow sled.
that was fun. This is
We'll
like
see what happens in Vegas in a couple weeks.
Yeah, different snow.
Juanito.
Oh my God.
It's a terrible place. It's a terrible, horrible place. I hate Vegas.
Oh, well.
Happy anniversary, 5, in our
All
last
right,
show.
so again, sticking with this year, I just had so much fun when we took a bus ride. A bus ride that took us to Cleveland for the Republican National Convention. But we made stops along the way, and one of the stops along the way was at a farm festival. What did you call it?
Agricultural fair.
It was
Agricultural fair. It was so much fun, but the bus ride was just too much fun to be with.
Where's your
Why didn't you
video?
show it?
Where is your video?
Where's your bus?
Where's your picture?
I don't know. They won't show that.
A Democrat in the middle of this crazy country. We have someone from New Florence who votes with her brain. That's right. That's exactly right. That's what I'm thinking.
And that was great fun because I got to go over to the Football Hall of Fame and throw the ball around with my son and the archivist, who showed me some very valuable football cards. But
it was fun, but can we never do another road trip bus
You didn't
ride
like
it?
You got tired?
It was a little
You know
rough.
what I want?
It was a
I would
little
love
rough.
the bus if it didn't move. If we just sat on it and had fun, and you did your little rhymes and your crazy talk.
I had the best time.
And you
I
just
love buses.
Crushed red wine.
I had a
like
great
you did.
time.
That was good.
I enjoyed it.
And
You were cranking tunes in the back.
Yes, drinking wine and
he was
having conversation.
And he was like
Juan and I were
rapping.
watching a little baseball. And
He was like Vanilla Ice rapping, but with
Please.
Pinot Noir, and then I was eating salami, and then spilling orange soda on me. Whatever. Anyway, it was fun. It was the motion sickness thing that was weird. Greg.
All right. Remember, it must have been like 3 months ago when a young fella started scaling the Trump Tower, and Shep, breaking news, stepped in, and then I stepped into Shep. Shep, do you want me to go get you anything? I can get up here. I can walk over to the coffee place. You want some? You don't want?
Look who's arrived. There's no milk in
my
this.
God.
Oh, I'm sorry, but I got the 2 equals. And,
Who let you on this floor?
But I still have a security pass, believe it or not.
That's weird. Thank you so much.
And I got this nice white mic.
It's nice.
It
You
really
gonna
is.
make fun of our microphone?
Yes, I am. Why is it white, Shep?
So we always talk about, because we're on the commentary side about what we do, but we have the best news delivery system in the country, and we have the best news anchor in the world. I think Shep is the fastest, smartest person in the business, and when you look at that news deck, he is our Captain Kirk. He's running that
You can
deck.
give him 3 facts and he can talk for an hour.
No, I don't even understand how they do it, but we can talk about anything because we're not beholden to facts. It's just opinions. But he's got a stick. You give him 2 words and he will weave it out into a giant sweater of beauty.
Wow, that was pretty good.
Thank you very much.
What a winning endorsement of Shepard Smith.
I read, by the way, I read this morning, CNN had a piece up there saying that Fox changed the media for the worse by increasing political polarization. And I'm thinking the translation is the liberal media had owned the turf for so long and they wanted to keep it that way. And then Fox showed up and pantsed them.
So we took back our playground.
Yes.
All right.
Now, didn't Shep just once wander through here?
Yes.
Yeah, he did.
The menorah.
That was pretty interesting too. Is it my turn now?
I hope so.
This is the best one.
Well, this is probably the inception of Kimberly's food court, right? So everyone found out about my love affair with food. And here's an example of it in the 4th of July with the West Point band playing, and boom, the chicken wing eating contest. Take a look at this.
On your marks. Get set. Go. These are the chicken wings from Dinosaur Barbecue.
Wow. In the bowl, too. Oh, my God. Great. 2.
I thought they'd only get through 5. You have 10 seconds left. And in 10, 9, 8, 7,
6.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That is the most amazing footage ever.
Winning.
You know why?
Yeah.
Keep watching.
No, here's the...
Don't you remember when we had to edit out of the end of that?
Right, well, because somebody
the
got
runner-up
sick
ended up
after.
choking.
That's still my favorite show.
He's a choker. He's a choker.
You know how sometimes in the packages they'll do speeded up walking?
You don't need it with this.
That is not sped up. That is Kimberly.
That is real speed.
I crushed it. And Dana gave me the best compliment. She goes, any competition I'm in, I want you. And you know, I'm a killer. I'm like undefeated.
It looked like you knew what you were doing. Is this something you do?
No, I don't go on the circuit. But
No, are
I
you
do
sure?
crush wings.
Yeah, I mean, you could take that. What's that guy, Joey's Chestnuts?
I've been working on hot dogs, actually.
Yes, really. I'm glad.
All right, anyway.
I mean, I'm glad because I think you could win. Joey Chestnuts, watch out. I know Joey.
I can't.
Oh, my God.
Want me to help you?
We'll be looking.
What?
We'll be
looking forward to the next 20 years and hope you'll still be with us for the ride. Straight ahead, Matthew is continuing to pummel Florida with winds of up to 115 miles per hour. There is immense concern about flooding from storm surges. A live update next.
We want to go back now to Florida, where Hurricane Matthew is relentlessly pounding the coast. Leland Vittert is with us again from Daytona Beach. Leland, what is the latest there?
Oh, Greg, those counterclockwise winds still coming through here. The last bands of Matthew as it quite literally goes out to sea. You can see the famous Daytona Beach pier still standing, still though very, very heavy surf. And when you look up here out towards the boardwalk and then down, you do get a sense that there has been some damage and destruction, but it's easy after a storm like this when you don't just see the decimation to go, it's not really a big deal. Senator Marco Rubio down here a little earlier asked him what he thought. He said, what you don't see is most important, like this beach erosion, not quite as obvious to the untrained eye. He said it will take a lot of time and a lot of money to repair this, which is critical for the infrastructure and for the tourism here in Volusia County in Daytona Beach. So much of their money comes from tourism, and to the point of money, the senator said it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of money to repair this beach. And you know, Greg, when a senator says it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of money, it's going to take a whole lot of both.
Exactly. Be safe, Leland. Talk to you soon. All right, let's go now to Chief Meteorologist Rick Reichmuth, tracking the storm in the Fox Weather Center. Hey, Rick.
Hey, yeah, and we've always been planning that the storm surge is not going to be as bad in Daytona Beach. It's going to be worse once you get up from around Jacksonville to Charleston, and that's what we have going on now. Onshore wind piling all that water right there in across areas of the coast. The storm has weakened a little bit. Good news, it is still right on that verge between a Cat 2 and a Cat 3 hurricane. Winds at 110 miles an hour, and the pressure really low. So when you have low pressure, it is still a very, very strong storm right there, and it's right offshore. The center of the storm is about 35 miles off the shore, and it's been moving towards the north, but because the way that coastline moves, it's moving towards the north, and it's going to start getting closer tonight into tomorrow morning here across parts of Georgia and in towards the Carolinas. Flooding concerns are going to be a big story as we move forward. The worst of the rain is yet to come, and that's going to be in South Carolina and North Carolina, some spots up to 15 inches. Guys.
Thanks, Rick.
You bet.
All right, one more thing is up next.
The wisdom.
Time for one more thing, and KG kicks it off.
All right, well, this week, as you guys know, at home, my little man, Road Dog, celebrated his 10th birthday. So we have a big game truck party tomorrow. And these are some photos we got to take with our friend, amazing photographer, Kevin Kendrick Photography. You can check his stuff out at kpkphoto.com. So it was really a fun day, and you can see the big teeth, the big smile there, right? And so many of the photos. Anyway, it was really nice, and they grow up so fast. So give your kids extra hugs and kisses at home, and feel so lucky to have him every day in my life. He's really, truly a treasure, little Road Dog. Can you believe how big he's gotten?
Yeah, he's big.
Handsome boy. Handsome boy.
And thanks again to Kevin for taking care of us. Very nice. Y'all post some of those later. And there he is with his dad as well.
Very nice. Very nice.
Eric.
Okay, lots of accusations have been lobbed at Hillary Clinton, taking money from lobbyists, pro-NAFTA, taking money from Wall Street, but they're not from Donald Trump. They're from this guy, her biggest supporter on the campaign trail. Watch.
Senator Clinton, this is the same person who has taken more money from lobbyists than any other candidate, Democratic or Republican. This is the same person who took money from financial folks on Wall Street and then voted for a bankruptcy bill that makes it harder for folks right here in Pennsylvania to get a fair shake.
Well, he went on and on and on. Again, that's 2008 when he ran against Hillary Clinton. And by the way, RNC, cut that ad. Cut that one more thing. Make that one of your next ads.
I think that some of that is one of the reasons that Hillary Clinton has had such a hard time with millennials. The relentless pounding that she took by President Obama when they were running against each other, and then you had the Bernie Sanders with the same type of message this year, and you'll see in some of this polling the numbers with millennials are really
ads.
bad.
They should get out there. They should start using some of those.
Okay, mine is we're going to celebrate a colleague of ours who's in the Washington, D.C. Bureau, and that is James Rosen, who has compiled and edited a beautiful book written by, it's a compilation of work by William F. Buckley and Jr. It's called A Torch Kept Lit, and he was on Fox and Friends this morning talking about it.
This is a collection of 50 eulogies that Bill Buckley delivered or wrote over the course of his career for the towering figures of his time. If you love history, politics, art, music, sailing, spy novels, all the things that Bill Buckley loved, you're going to love this book.
And I have to say that the smartest people I know always read the obituary so they can learn about people, includes my husband. And Tucker Carlson reads the obituary. So congratulations to James.
Tucker reads the obituary?
Yeah, he says he always does, because that's where you learn about America and great people.
Happy he's not there.
Tucker,
I made it another day.
Tucker sees dead.
He does feel that way.
He sees dead people.
That's true.
Right. Greg, you're up.
All right, my Saturday show, 10 p.m., GG show. You got Tyrus. He's going to be going to Comic-Con, the great pro wrestler. Rob Long, you know him, you love him, great writer. Kat Tim, Jessica Tarloff, going to be great. We're going to have a debate preview. I'm also breaking a big story. Tech billionaires are investing mucho bucks to find out whether or not we live in a matrix, i.e. this is all simulated.
They believe that, right?
Yeah,
I strongly believe it.
They believe it's a 50-50 chance that it could be true.
Somebody trap me here with you.
Yes. Is this the secrets to happiness? I can't remember. Maybe not. But you know what? If you're a polar bear and it's hot out, just click. This is actually a polar bear cub enjoying himself in a pile of ice. A neat fact about this adorable polar bear cub, that when he becomes an adult, he will be able to rip you to shreds. Everything adorable as an animal gets big and then will try to eat you. It is a fact. Do not forget it for the rest of your life.
That's how much I enjoy the hot tub. I can relate to this. If that was a hot tub, forget it. Amazing.
All right.
All right, Juan,
So I was reading an obituary this week.
Oh my God.
It was for a recluse named Rod Temperton. And to my surprise, Mr. Temperton wrote some of my favorite songs and probably some of your favorite songs too. Here are two by the king of pop, Michael Jackson. So that's pretty amazing that Rod Temperton wrote both of those, but he also wrote Boogie Nights.
Great song.